See a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wildflower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. 4 to fit the beat, 6 to melt and bleed. 7 hours long today break. 9 is wise and strong. 11 might be wrong. 12 she wins it all again. Breathes a soul of song. Skies are grey and numb. Winds are shaking the horizon. Stormy brains to do. Eyes to find your truth. Mind to rise above the fool's rules. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a white flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a white flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour.
Szeretettel üdvözlök mindenkit, visszatérő és új nézőinket. Welcome here everybody, returning and new viewers. Ezt a zenés sorozatot az Arzenu nevében készítjük és visszük hozzátok. Arzenu a progresszív zsidóság nemzetközi politikai hangja 12 országban és a Cionista Világszövetségben. Sorozatunk mai része a Cionista Világszövetség Irgun osztályának segítségével is készül. Mindkét szervezetnek köszönjük a támogatást. We have organized and broadcast these programs on behalf of Arzenu, that is the international political voice of progressive Jewry, present in 12 countries and in the World Zionist Organization. For tonight's event, we also had support and assistance from the Department of Irgun of the World Zionist Organization. We are very grateful for the support of both organizations. Ez a zenés esemény sorozatunk arra szolgál, hogy informáljon, felvidítson, örömöt, reményt és erőt, energiát adjon. This series of music events is to inform you, to cheer you up, to give you joy, hope, strength and new energy. Elemi időket élünk. 77 év után ismét Európában egy ország óriási erővel brutálisan lerohant egy szuverén államot. A közvetlen szomszédunkban. Elmondhatatlan szenvedéssel, háborús bűnökkel, jövőnket meghatározó választások Magyarországon, Franciaországban, újabb kormányválság Izraelben. Így a mai esténk témája a béke háborús időkben és a tavaszi remény és új energia. We are living through momentous times. After 77 years yet again, in Europe, a country of might, brutally invading a sovereign nation in our immediate neighborhood, with unspeakable war crimes and suffering. Recent and current parliamentary elections in Hungary and France that define our future, and yet another government crisis in Israel. Therefore, the program tonight is grouped around important issues and values: peace in wartime and the spring of hope and renewed energy. Technikai hátterünket és a közvetítést Angliából kapjuk. Andy és Leo a londoni Shock Audiovisual Limited-től. Óriási köszönet nekik a profi munkáért, kedvességükért és türelmükért. The technical support and streaming is from England. Andy and Leo of Shock Audiovisual in London. Huge thanks to both of them for their professionalism, kindness and patience. Már is átadom a mikrofont a programsorozat művészi szervezőinek és vezetőinek, Lamm Dávidnak és Kanizsa Ginának. Dávid ismert, remek klasszikus és jazzgitáros, zenekarvezető, dalszerző, énekes, kedves mesemondó. Gina képzett, nemzetközi díjakkal is elismert, széles palettán tehetséges énekes, zeneszerző, szövegíró, jazz énektanár. It's time to pass the microphone to the artistic organizers and leaders of this program, David Lamm and Gina Kanizsa. David is a well-known, excellent classical and jazz guitar player, band leader, songwriter, singer, and wonderful storyteller. Gina is a trained and very talented singer in a wide range of music with many international awards. She is also a composer, lyrics writer, singing teacher. Induljon hát a zene. Take it away, David and Gina. Sound? David, sound?
I'm sorry. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for the introduction, Erika. Welcome to the fourth part of Ahead with Me, the Ahead Music series. And thank you, Erika, again for arranging the previous ones and, of course, tonight's event as well. And thank you, everybody, for being here tonight with us. Now, tonight we have a very, very special guest. I'm really excited to talk about, to talk to ask questions from, and excited about him being here with us. But before I introduce him, I have to continue that thought about the shocking and horrible events that took place in the past month or month and a half or so. All I know for a fact is that nobody of those people I know would have thought that something like that could occur in our lifetimes. And it's especially the whole Russian army thing, I think resonates with Hungarian ears and hearts a lot, because it has not been that long ago that we had our own fights with the Russian army. So it goes without saying, of course, that all intelligent people condemn war and violence of any sort, let alone the occupation of an independent country. So on that note, I'd like to announce our first song, which Gina and I have recorded. And this is a beautiful song entitled Peace, written by great jazz musician Horace Silver, whom I think I will talk about a little more later. Hope you will like it. This is Peace.
There's a place that I know where the sycamores grow and daffodils have their fun, where the cares of the day seem to slowly fade away in the glow of the evening sun. Peace when the day is done. If I go there real late, let my mind meditate on everything to be done. If I search deep inside, let my conscience be my guide, then the answers are sure to come. don't have to worry none. If I go there real late, let my mind meditate on everything to be done. If I search deep inside, let my conscience be my guide, then the answers are sure to come. Don't have to worry none. Don't have to worry none. No, don't have to worry none.
Köszönjük szépen ezt a gyönyörű dalt a fákról, narciszokról, ahol a lemenő nappal elolvadnak a napi gondok, és béke tér a szívünkbe, ahol meditálni lehet, amikor mélyen magunkban nézünk, és a lelkiismeretünk diktálja a kérdéseinkre a válaszokat, és így nem kell semmin aggódni. Pár hónapja még így élhettünk. Thank you for this lovely song about the sycamores and daffodils, where the cares of the day fade away with the setting sun, and peace comes into our hearts, where we can meditate, search deep inside, and our conscience is our guide, so we don't have to worry, none. Up to a few months ago, we could live in such a peace. Mai valóságunk viszont egy csak az 1940-es évek náci álmokfutásához hasonlíthatóan brutális. A 77 év alatt Európában felnőtt generációink, azaz szinte mindannyiunk számára eddig elképzelhetetlen, és most is felfoghatatlan háború. De ennél is rosszabb, mert ez egy háború, amit az agresszor ráadásul igazságosságnak, felszabadításnak, jogos, különleges hadműveletnek hazudik, agymosva milliókat. Mindez egyetlen pszichológiailag és állítólag fizikailag is súlyosan beteg ember elborult agya, és 19. és 20. századba visszanyúló birodalmi lázálmai miatt. The reality today, however, is a war in Europe that in its brutality can only be compared to the Nazis having run amok in frenzied murder in the 1940s. A war unimaginable and unthinkable for all the generations that have grown up in the past 77 years. That's almost all of us. But it is even worse than that, as this is a war that the aggressor, attacker, calls a just liberation, a special military operation, brainwashing millions of people by this sick lie. All this because of one man, a psychologically and reportedly also physically seriously sick man, his warped mind and his feverish empire dreams, rooted in the 19th and 20th century. Megállj, hiszen mégsem csak egyetlen ember, hiszen mi milliók engedjük Putyint 20 éve már garázdálkodni. A különféle európai szélsőjobb mozgalmak 2 évtizedes finanszírozásán keresztül, és az utóbbi években a komputer hackereken és tévinformációkon keresztül Putyin sikeresen ássa alá az EU-t, NATO-t, Amerikát, a demokráciát, szabadságot, és magát, az igazságot is. Mindannyian felelősek vagyunk, és most mindannyiunknak együtt kell ezt az őrületet megállítani. But stop, it is not just one man after all. For the past 20 years, how many millions of us people have allowed Putin to wreak havoc by financing far-right movements across Europe for 2 decades, and by computer hacking and misinformation in recent years? He has successfully undermined the EU, NATO, the US, democracy, freedom, and finally, the truth itself. We all are responsible, and we all together have to stop this madness. Mit tehetünk? Mélyre kell ásnunk magunkban, és elővenni a lelkiismeretünket, maradék erőnket, időnket, tavaszi energiát arra használni, hogy minden lehető helyen és időben tájékoztassunk, meggyőzzünk embereket a személyes környezetünkben, hogy amit a képeken mutatok, az az igazság. What can we do? We have to dig deep and look into our conscience and use our remaining strength, time, and the new spring energy to inform and convince people in our immediate environment that what I have been showing on the photos is the truth. Mutassuk a képeket, videókat, fordítsunk le cikkeket a szabad külföldi sajtóból, bizonyítsuk, hogy egy ország lesz földig rombolva a szemünk előtt, hogy egy nép hősiesen harcol az önállóságáért, szabadságáért, és a miénkért is, mert Putyin nem állna meg, ha eljutna a magyar határra. Hogy ettől kell tartanunk, nem az ellenzéki pártoktól. Show people photos, videos, translate articles from the free foreign press. Let us prove that the country is being leveled to earth in the front of our very eyes. That the people are fighting heroically for their independence and freedom, and for ours too, as Putin would not stop at the Hungarian border. This is what we have to worry about, and not about the Hungarian opposition parties. A világ tüntet. Mi is menjünk újból a hősök terére, orosz követséghez. Mondjuk hangosan, hogy Orbán propagandája mind hazugság, hogy nem szabad közönösen tovább élni a mindennapjainkat, míg a szomszédban tömeggyilkosság, kínzás, pusztítás, emberek táborokba hurcolása folyik, és a kormány azt hazudja, a magyar kormány azt hazudja, a hősies, Churchillhez mérhető Zelenszky elnökről, hogy ő az ellenfelünk. The world demonstrates, so let us go to Hero Square again, to the Russian embassy. Let us say loudly that Orbán's propaganda is all lies, that we must not live our lives in indifference, while next door there is mass murder, torture, destruction to desolation. Thousands are being dragged away into unknown camps, and the Hungarian government lies to us yet again. This time they call the heroic Churchillian President Zelensky our opponent. Nem engedhetjük. Akármi is történt a se nem szabad, se nem fair, 1000 sebből vérző, 1000-szer elcsalt választáson. Minden erőnkkel küzdenünk kell a saját és a szomszédaink szabadságáért, függetlenségéért, országáért és életéért. Ha ezt tesszük, akkor nem kell semmin aggódnunk, mint a most hallott békedalban. We cannot, we must not allow this to stand. Whatever just happened at the Hungarian elections that were neither free nor fair, and that were based on manifold election fraud, we have to continue to fight with all our strengths for our own and our neighbors' freedom and independence, country and lives. This is the only way for us not to have to worry, none, like in the peace song we heard.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult to say anything after that. Of course, we all agree with everything Erika just said. Before I start to talk about tonight's special guest, first of all, I have to express my gratitude for him for accepting our invitation to this event. He's an exceptionally great musician, music educator, true jazz legend. And I have to tell you, the length of this event would not be enough to talk about all the great achievements of his in music, which he still takes part in to this day. So what I'm going to tell you is just an outline of his career so that you know about David Friedman, who was born in New York, first studied drums, marimba, and xylophone at Juilliard. And then he worked with some incredible people. I mean, maybe not everybody knows all these great jazz musicians, but when we just look at this list, it's quite incredible. He worked with Wayne Shorter and Horace Silver in the 70s. Horace Silver is the great jazz pianist and composer whose song you just heard, the one we arranged called Peace. He founded the Mallet Duo with Dave Samuels, with which they also played in a quartet format called Double Image. He worked with Chet Baker, which is yet another incredible fact. And he probably did like millions of other things, but then he moved to Berlin, where he founded the jazz program at Berlin's University of Art. And the 10th anniversary of that was celebrated with Bobby McFerrin. They had a big duo with Bobby McFerrin. He has a very important instruction book called Vibraphone Technique, Dampening and Pedaling. He has a beautiful solo album, which I think was the first of its kind. I don't think anybody ever did a solo vibraphone album before. This one is called Air Sculpture, which I recommend to everybody. He still continues to perform master classes all over the world. In recent years, he played, and that's an important fact for me, he played with Ferenc Schneidberger a lot, who's a great Hungarian guitarist, also living in Berlin. And he has, among other things, he has this camp, which he founded for especially talented Roma children. David has a lot of current projects as well. Some of these are Endless Islands, in which I think he does with his son, Jeremy Friedman. He has a trio called Generations Trio and a duo called Duo Elegance with a saxophone player named Peter Weniger. And just to tell you a couple of names who he played and recorded with, I mean, it's quite incredible even to read those names. Leonard Bernstein, Bobby McFerrin, Johnny Griffin, Ron Carter, John Scofield, Aretha Franklin, Blood, Sweat and Tears, George Benson, the Brecker Brothers, Billy Joel, Luther Vandross, Bob Moses, and the aforementioned Horace Silver. And the list goes on and on. What can I say? We are humbled by his presence. Please welcome David Friedman. Hi, David. You have to unmute yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, David, for a wonderful introduction.
Hi,
I really
David.
wish that some of it were true. It's amazing. It's really nice of you to say all those wonderful things about me.
Well, it's
And,
incredible.
yeah.
Most of this is true. everything of
All
this.
of these things are true, if not most of them, right? Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. It's great to be doing this program with you, because we've also known each other for quite a few years, but never really played together.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I've been thinking about that. We met, I think it was more than 10 years ago in this camp I just talked about.
in Fedshire, right? So, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
in Fedshire. And I think you've been there a couple of years ago too. Not so many. You've been there. I first got to know you like more than 10 years ago, and then you've been there 5 or 6 years.
I've been about 5 or 6 times. Ferenc asked me occasionally to come and teach. I love teaching there.
Yeah,
I love being there, and I love the students, and it's great working with like gifted young children, because that's, I think, what it's all about. You know, it's about,
you think you will come back for a master class there?
I would love to. I would love to. You know, if Ferenc asked me, I'd love to do it. Yeah.
So I have to I want to ask you about. I have to ask you about how you see this whole thing in Ukraine. But before we do that, I'd like to ask you about Horace Silver, because we just listened to the album you recorded with him today. I think it's called The Pursuit of the 27th Man.
Right.
And can you tell me a little bit about
the man? I can tell you how I got the gig, actually.
Okay.
He actually called me himself personally, and when he called me, I really couldn't believe it was him. You know,
wow.
But he was on the phone, and he said, "Hey, David, this is Horace Silver." You know, and I thought he was kidding. You know, the same thing, by the way, happened once with Stan Getz, who called me.
Really?
And I said, you know, who is this really? You know, he got very irritated, but you know, he said, it's me. Anyway, so Horace said, I'm doing a record, and I wonder if you would mind coming down to Lynn Oliver's studio in New York and playing a bit. It was actually an audition, but he was nice enough not to call it an audition.
Okay.
So I got down to the studio. I went down to the studio, and there was Randy Brecker, you know, who was also auditioning with me.
Really?
And so we, you know, kind of said, "Oh, yeah, wow, this is amazing. You know, you're here too." Yeah.
Incredible. No, I think I think we lost David for a minute. I hope. Are you here,
Okay.
David?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Everyone disappeared. So anyway, so then he gave me a couple of tunes to play. I remember one is this tune he wrote called "Summer in Central Park," and I sight read it, and I played this one tune, played a solo, and he said, "Thanks, man. Thanks, you sound great," and that's it. And then he called me for the record. And then I did the record, but I didn't do. I recorded just with Mickey Roker, and who was the bass player?
I checked it out actually a couple of
minutes.
Anyway,
Mickey Roker and Horace, and I've had the good fortune of being able to play with kind of jazz legends who have a very, very specific style of playing, and getting them to get out of their comfort zone and play free. It sounds kind of strange, but I did the same. I did the same with Chet, because when I recorded with Chet, we did an album of my music, and Chet Baker, right? We did an album of my music, and one of the tunes was a tune that I'd written that just had a melody line and no harmonic structure. So he said, "Well, gee, how should I play on it?" I said, "Just play on the line." And he did, and we did 2 versions of it, and they sound amazing. And afterwards, his wife told me that she thought that was one of the most interesting albums he'd ever done. She didn't tell me it was the greatest album he ever done, but he said it was one of those things, because there was a vibe and trumpet duo as well. You know, I wrote a tune for the session just for Chet and me to play duo. But anyway, back to the Horace record. So there's a tune called, I think it's In Pursuit of the 27th Man, where we extend the form at the end and just play on a vamp and just play totally out, which I was so impressed with how Horace was willing, you know, to go that route which is something that he really ever did, and I thought it was a tremendous joy for me to do that.
Yeah. And Chet, I'm not sure if this is correct, but I read about him that he didn't even read the score. I mean, he was all just ears. He played everything by ear.
The thing with Chet was, which I found fascinating, and it really was a lesson for me, because I mean, he didn't read chord changes, but he read he could read music,
Oh, he could read lines and everything.
Yeah, so he could read lines. So what he would do is he would listen and play when it came to taking a solo. And I found that it's really inspiring, because he really played totally intuitively, just by ear. It's not that he's reading like, D7, G7.
Yeah.
It was, he'd like play a line, he'd hear a chord and then he'd play a line, unless it was, of course, a standard that he played 150 times,
Can you tell me, I remember there was one story you told me about the first rehearsal with Chet, where he didn't have his instrument for some reason.
I went to his house. The head of Angel Records, Matthias Winkelmann, said, call Chet and go over, because the idea was he was supposed to play all of my compositions. So I called him and he said, come on over. And I didn't live that far from him at the time. I went over there, came to the door in a bathrobe, and received me very graciously. And he had a grand piano in the living room. So I was extremely naive and said, oh, it's great to be here. Let's, I put some of the music on the piano, and I said, should we play some of the tunes? And he said, yeah, go ahead and play them. I said, well, wouldn't you like to play with me? And he said, I don't have a trumpet.
Incredible. I have to say something in Hungarian now about the whole thing. Elképesztően nem csak, hogy híres, hanem nagyon-nagyon ritka, fontos jazzzenészekről beszéltünk, akivel David játszott együtt. Chet Baker volt az egyik ezek közül, és Horace Silver volt a másik, akinek a dalát feldolgoztuk, és amit elsőként hallhattatok. Ezekről beszélgettünk egy picit, és ezekről mesélt döbbenetes sztorikat David. A last note on translating, there was some pretty famous jazz musician from the US in Hungary, and he was talking for like 54 minutes, and there was this Hungarian guy, Ablakos Lakatos Dezső. He was a great saxophone player, and he lived little in the US, so he was the one who was supposed to be translating. And the guy was talking for like 50 minutes, and then Ablakos Lakatos Dezső said, well, you have to play well. That's what he translated. The guy was talking about music theory and everything.
Yeah.
Jól kell muzsikálni. You have to play well. That was the.
You just have to play well.
You just have to
I hope people understand. Do people? I hope people are understanding what I'm saying. Am I speaking too fast?
Actually, I'm supposed to give an outline in Hungarian again, but I think it's time. If you feel like it, David, then you could play something.
Okay. Anything in particular?
Anything you feel like playing.
Okay, I'm gonna actually improvise something, because I haven't. I thought.
Okay.
I just want to say quickly, when this Ukrainian Russian war started, it depressed me so much that what I usually do when I get in that kind of a mood state is play, and I think it's something that really makes me feel better. But I've been posting stuff on Facebook. I did that during the pandemic as well, and so when this thing happened with Ukraine, I recorded a kind of an improvisation, kind of inspired by my feelings about what was happening. And the great thing about music is music has no words, and it's all about feeling. So whether the people who listened to it, thought they felt the same way I did, I don't know. But anyway, that's what I did. And so I'm not going to play the same piece, because it was an improvisation. So
okay, I'm going to translate this, but first I have to remind you to change the mic.
Okay, good that you said that.
Ukrajnával kapcsolatban és az egész háborús helyzettel kapcsolatban beszélt arról David, hogy azt hiszem, hogy a legfontosabb talán az volt, hogy a zenész mégis csak zenél, és hangokkal és érzésekkel reagál leginkább a történésekre. Úgyhogy a mostani, egyébként ezzel az egész helyzettel kapcsolatban ő már megosztott a Facebookján legalább egy improvizációt, ami kifejezetten erre a helyzetre vonatkozott, és most azt mondta, hogy most egy újabbat szeretne improvizálni, tehát egy teljesen új dalt fogunk most hallani.
És tényleg az a nehéz az egészben, csak a magyar hallgatók kedvéért mondom, hogy amikor a zenészek, mi is ezzel szembesültünk, hogy ez történik a világban, akkor az ember egy kicsit elgondolkozik azon, hogy mit ér ez a zene, és utána rájövünk, hogy mégiscsak ez a legfontosabb, hogy ezt tovább kell csinálni, és ez ad sokat az embereknek.
David, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll just start playing, okay?
Okay, we're listening. really beautiful. Thank you, David. We'll get back to talking in like a couple of minutes, I think. So thank you very much. And we'll be right back. I just have to announce our next video.
Oh, okay, great.
Without trying to pretend I'm the tonight's show's host or something.
Okay.
But so the next video is a combination of two songs by the same singer-songwriter rolled up into one, because the lyrics struck me in both cases as if they were about today's events, especially the line about the Satan who sometimes comes as a man of peace. Maybe you can translate, Gina?
Yeah, a következő dal, ami ezek után most elhangzik, az egy korábban felvett dal lesz, és 2 dalról van szó, amit összefűztünk, mert Dávidban megfordult a gondolat, hogy pontosan a mostani eseményekre reagál az a 2 dalszöveg, ami itt ebben a dalban össze lett foglalva.
So the two songs we arranged, rolled up kind of into one, are called Blowing in the Wind and Man of Peace. And the songwriter is, his name is, he has many names. His original name is Robert Allen Zimmerman, but he's also known by the name Blind Boy Grunt, Zimmy. And for his closest friends, he's Shabtai Zisel Ben Avraham, which is his Hebrew name. But most people know him as Bob Dylan. So I hope you're going to like this one. So this is Bob Dylan's Blowing in the Wind and Man of Peace.
Egy Bob Dylan.
How many roads must a man walk down before you can call him a man? And how many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in sand? And how many times must the cannonballs fly before they're forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in a wind. The answer is blowing in a wind. How many years must a mountain exist before it is washed to the sea? And how many years must some people exist before they're allowed to be free? Yes, and how many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? The answer, my friend, is blowing in a wind. The answer is blowing in a wind. He got a sweet gift to gab, he got a harmonious tongue. He knows every song of love that has ever been sung. Good intentions can be evil, both hands full of grease. You know that sometimes Satan comes as a man of peace. How many times must a man look up before he
he can see the sky. And how many ears must one man have before he can hear people cry? Yes, and how many deaths will it take till he knows that too many people have died? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Mivel a dal előtt egy kicsit a fordítás elmaradt, még meg szeretném említeni, hogy David ebben összedolgozott 2 dalt, és a Blowing in the Wind ezt nagyon sokan ismerik, de a másik, ami a béke emberéről szól, azt azért tette bele, mert a szövegben egy emberről van szó, aki nagyon tud beszélni, és tudjuk, hogy az időnként nagyon rossz lehet, és időnként az ördög, mint a béke embere jelenik meg. Blowing in the Wind, elszálltak a szélben. Ukrajnában már legalább 15 millió embert fújt el a szél. 15 millió embernek el kellett hagynia otthonát. Ebből április 9-ig az ENSZ szerint 5 millióan elhagyták az országot is. Legtöbben 2.600.000 Lengyelországba, de 420.000 Magyarországra mentek. Before I just translated some of the text of the song into Hungarian. And blowing in the wind, in Ukraine, at least 15 million people have been blowing in the wind. They all had to leave their homes. According to the UN, of these, at least 5 million people have left the country, too. Most, 2.6 million, to Poland, but 420,000 came to Hungary. A félmilliót közelítő Magyarország felé indult menekültek eligazítása, ellátása, elszállásolása az első hetekben teljes mértékben a civil szervezetekre, önkéntesekre, határmenti önkormányzatokra hárult. Ők fantasztikus erőbedobással ezt is elindították, rengeteg Facebook csoport és sok elképesztően segítőkész, befogadó ember segítségével. Emberek, akik maguk is kis lakásokban élnek, szűkösen, idősek, betegek, egész családokat fogadtak mégis be, és láttak el. In terms of the near 500,000 people who crossed the Hungarian border, in the first weeks, all tasks were left entirely to civil organizations, charities, volunteers, and very small local authorities at the border area. They made a fantastic, energetic start with the help of many Facebook groups and amazingly willing volunteers and helpers. People who themselves just about make a living and are in small apartments, sometimes elderly, sometimes not in good health, have nevertheless taken in entire families. A kormány hetekig nem tett semmit, csak akkor kezdett megmozdulni, amikor kiderült, hogy az EU finanszíroz bizonyos kiadásokat az ukrán menekültekkel kapcsolatban. A munka és a teher legnagyobb része továbbra is a civil szervezeteken, Caritasokon és önkénteseken van. For weeks, the government didn't contribute anything to this effort. They just started to get involved when it transpired that the EU will finance certain refugee expenditures. Most of the burden and work involved is still on the civil organizations, charities and volunteers. Világszerte a reform zsidó közösségek erőteljes adománygyűjtését a progresszív zsidó világszervezet végzi. Eddig majd $2 millió gyűjtött a menekültek humanitárius megsegítésére és az ukrajnai, valamint környékbeli élet és közösségek fenntartására. A világszervezet első perctől aktívan részt vett az ukrajnai zsidók és rabbik kimentésében is. A magyarországi zsidó segítségnyújtást a Mazsihisz fogja össze, és ők indítottak egy krízisvonalat és adománygyűjtést, elsősorban az Ukrajnából Magyarországra érkező zsidók számára. Reformed Jewish communities' worldwide efforts to collect Ukrainian crisis donations are headed by the World Union for Progressive Judaism, who have so far collected nearly $2 million directed to existing and emerging humanitarian needs of refugees and to sustaining life and community in the region. From the beginning of the war, the World Union has actively participated in rescuing Jews, including rabbis from Ukraine. In Hungary, Mazsihisz, the Federation of Hungarian Jewish Congregations, is heading and coordinating assistance. They started a crisis phone line and collection of donations, primarily for Jews arriving from Ukraine. A két kis magyar reform zsidó hitközség is már gyűjtött pénzt és adományt, amiket szintén a Mazsihiszon keresztül csatornázunk be. A Bétorim és Szimsalom reformközösségek a világszervezet európai részénél adtak be 2 kérvényt segítségnyújtásra. Az egyik 2400 euró értékben érintett tagjaink megsegítésére, ahol 8 családtagjuk és barátaik már megérkeztek Ukrajnából, ez a pénz már útban van, valamint egy $5000 közös projektre, amivel a Mazsihisznél fogunk a menekültek biztonságos és szervezett Budapestre szállításához és az azzal kapcsolatos ellátásukhoz hozzájárulni. Így az európai és világszervezetük segítségével mi, a Magyarországi kicsi reformmozgalom is messze erőnkön felül tudunk hozzájárulni az ukrán zsidók megsegítéséhez. Both small Hungarian reform communities have collected some donations, which we have also channeled through Mazsihisz. Congregations Bétorim and Szimsalom submitted 2 applications for funds at the European branch of the World Union. One of them, for €2,400, is already underway to assist our own members, whose 8 family members and friends have already arrived from Ukraine, and one for a $5,000 joint project that will contribute to Mazsihisz's expenditure for the safe and organized transport of refugees to Budapest and provisions for their journey. Thus, with the help of our European and World Union and their donors, the small Hungarian reform movement is also able to assist Ukrainian Jews well above its own means. A legfőképpen nőkből és gyerekekből, idősekből álló menekült csoportok mindent hátrahagytak, beleértve férjeiket, testvéreiket, apáikat, hiszen ők 18 és 60 éves kor között nem hagyhatják el az országot. Traumatizáltak, és rengeteg segítségre szorulnak. Tisztelettel kérem minden nézőnket, hogy segítsen, amit tud. A képernyőn láthatják a Mazsihisz adománygyűjtő oldalát, ahol kreditkártyával tudnak segíteni, és a képernyő alján fut az oldal elérhetősége. Kérem, adományozzanak, segítsenek. Köszönjük szépen! Refugee groups consisting mainly of women, children and the elderly have left everything behind and their husbands, brothers, fathers, as they are not allowed to leave the country between the age of 18 and 60. The refugees are traumatized and need a huge amount of help. I'm asking all our viewers, please help whatever you can. On the screen you can see the donation page of Mazsihisz, where you can give with your credit card. And on the banner you find the page's URL. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, Erika. Please, everybody who can afford, please help, because those are very, very important things. We actually both try to help our own way. We made concerts for the same humanitarian help, and Gina is actually hosting, not hosting, but she's working at she's working at Keleti Pályaudvar, actually the train station,
Not
and
yet,
she's working.
Yeah.
What is that work? Can you tell something about that?
Yeah, I decided to go to the animal aid point of the. It's called the Bokcsarnok, which is a great place not so far from the railway station, and the refugees arrive there and they can get any help they want. Also their animals, because they are traveling with all the family members, also with pets, and we provide them food, supplies, healthcare, even contacts to vets, because if they want to travel, they need some equipment and also medical care for the animals. Ezt magyarul is elmondom, csak hogy minden néző értse a történéseket. Tényleg az a helyzet, hogy mindenki, ahogy csak tud, próbál segíteni. Mi leginkább tettekkel tudunk segíteni jelenleg. Dávid is részt vett több olyan koncerten, amit a menekültek megsegítésére rendeztek. Én a Bokcsarnokban, az állatos ponton voltam párszor már önkénteskedni, mert ugye tényleg a családok úgy utaznak el, hogy a legfontosabbakat viszik magukkal, egy szál táskával és sok-sok kisállattal akár érkeznek a családok, és ha tovább akarnak menni, akkor sokszor van szükségük mindenféle felszerelésre, ételre, hordozó dolgokra és állatorvosi felügyeletre, mert ugye nem minden európai országban egyformák a szabályok arra, hogy hogyan utazhat egy állat, úgyhogy többek között ezek történnek most felénk. És
one thing we forgot about was introducing Gina. Gina Kanizsa, she's a great jazz singer. She's a vocal coach. She appeared in the 2017 Eurovision Song Contest, where she received a special prize.
it was long ago.
That was long ago, but still, that's something. And she has a great a cappella band, 5 singers singing without any instruments. It's a great band, and they keep they actually play all over the world, and they brought home a lot of prizes from several contests there.
Ezt most nem fogom lefordítani, a Dávid elmondta, hogy mennyi mindent csináltam már, és igazából van egy együttesem, akikkel jazz akapellát játszunk. Ez azt jelenti, hogy 5 énekhang van, és nincs hangszer, de az embernek nincsen hiányérzete, úgy van kialakítva a zenei matéria. Valamint arról is szó esett, hogy voltam a balettba ugrálni. Ha valaki látta a macskafogót, akkor ezt a kifejezést ismeri, mert a 2017-es magyar fordulójában az Eurovíziós Dalfesztiválnak a Dal című műsorban én is megfordultam. Egyébként egy olyan dallal, amit a Jazzation számára írt az egyik saját szerzőnk, de úgy gondoltuk, hogy érdemes lehet inkább egyel fogyaszthatóbb, vagy nem is fogyaszthatóbb, de közönségbarátabb, megszokottabb formában tálalni, és így aztán kapott egy hangszeres kíséretet, és én pedig elvittem, és ezt a dalt nagyon felkarolták ott a műsorban, és nagyon szerették, és egy csomó pozitív és izgalmas élmény ért ott engem.
És most játszunk egy dalt.
Igen. Mondjunk erről bármit?
Nem feltétlenül kell.
Igazából én csak annyit szerettem volna elmondani, hogy mindig arra jutunk végül is, hogy nekünk az a dolgunk, hogy nyugalmat és harmóniát csempészünk a mindennapjainkba és a mindennapjaitokba, úgyhogy ez is most egy olyan dal lesz, ami visszahoz egy kis nyugalmat a boldog béke időkből, a rádió aranykorából. I took a trip on a train and I thought about you. I passed the shadowy lane and I thought about you. 2 or 3 cars parked under the stars, a winding street. The moon looking down on some little town, with each peak the same old tree. And every stop that we make, yes, I thought about you. But when I pulled down the shade, I just really felt the blues. I peek through the crack and look at the track, the one going back to you. Oh, what did I do? I just thought about you. I took a trip on a train and I thought about you. Up in the shadowy lane and I thought about you. 2 or 3 cars parked under the stars, a winding street in the moon, looking down on some little town with each being the same old dream. And every stop that we make, I thought about you. I just felt the blue. I peeked through the crack and look at the track, the one going back to you. Oh, what did I do? I just thought about you. I took a trip on a train and I thought about you. I was the shadowy lane and I thought about you. 2 or 3 cars parked under the stars, on winding street, the moon looking down on some little town, with each beat the same old dream. And every stop that we made, I thought about you. But when I pulled down the shade, I just really felt the blue. I peek through the crack and look at the track, the one that going back and do. Oh, what did I do? What did I do? What did I do? I just thought about you.
Köszönjük szépen. If my schedule is right, then we can have a couple of more words with David. Is David around here? Hi, David.
He left, but I'm here.
Yeah. So there was some.
That sounded great. You guys sound so great together.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Man, it's swinging.
Let me translate it.
I wanted to ask you like a million questions, but Erika is telling me that we're behind schedule. So, but there are like a few things I just have to ask you. So first of all, something you just told me yesterday, I never knew about this, that you do have Hungarian ancestry.
I do. Yeah. My grandfather is from, let's see if I can pronounce it correctly, Sátoraljaújhely.
Yes,
great.
Is that right?
Superpower to speak Hungarian.
Hey.
That's incredible. And you told me that he left Hungary in 1902, I think.
Yeah, they left. He and an uncle, and some other relatives. I can't remember exactly who it was. They left in around 1902 to come to the United States. And I told you the reason yesterday. The reason that they left is because they weren't allowed to eat kosher in the army.
It's amazing. I have to translate.
Gina has to translate now.
Az ment közben a beszélgetésben, hogy ugye mindenkinek kiderül, hogy van magyar rokona, és Davidnek is van magyar rokona, az ő nagypapája magyar, az apai nagypapája Sátoraljaújhelyről származik, és az 1900-as évek legelején azért mentek el Amerikába, mert a hadseregnél nem lehetett rendes kóser kaját enni, és teljesen ki voltak ezen borulva, és közölték, hogy akkor ez így nem élet, és akkor inkább elvándorolnak Amerikába, majd ott.
And they all came to Brooklyn, and they all live within a radius of like 500 meters of each other. It's interesting. And at one point, my great grandmother died, I think, and then my great grandfather met with the family and asked permission to remarry. And he remarried someone he actually met in the United States. And but everything was done as a family. All the decisions were made as a family. And I know about all this from my uncle, who wrote a family chronicle about this time when they all, left to came to the United States. And yeah, it's a great story, because most people think, they left because they were being persecuted, or it was because of the war. They couldn't eat kosher in the army.
They couldn't eat kosher. Did you know your grandfather?
Yes. He was a very, very, very strict and old school guy. I wasn't allowed to tell him I was a musician. That's how it was. He was because he it started with my father. My father wanted to be an actor, and my grandfather told him that's not a profession for a Jewish boy. And so I couldn't also tell him I wanted to be a musician, because that wasn't a real profession, Wow. So he became very successful in the United States, and had lots of friends from all nationalities, all nations. And he was a very interesting guy, but very, very old school. It was difficult. I never really had a conversation with him, but he was someone I really respected, and I'm kind of afraid of, because he was such a tyrant, So, but an interesting guy.
Itt, amit kiderült egyébként, a Davidék családja viszonylag összetartó, és mindannyian néhány háztömbre laktak egymástól, és Brooklynban. És az derült még ki, hogy az ő nagypapája egy rettentően szigorú ember volt, aki nagyon tehetséges volt, és nagyon sokra vitte az életben, viszont a gyermekeinek is ezt kívánta, és amikor a David apukája kijelentette, hogy szeretne színész lenni, akkor ez nem volt lehetséges pálya, úgyhogy ő sem merte elmondani azt, hogy ő meg zenész szeretne lenni, de hát végül is viszonylag sikeres zenész lett ő, azt kell, hogy mondjuk, és biztos, hogy a nagypapa is büszke lenne ezek után, és engedélyezni ezt az életutat. Tehát nagyon szigorú volt, nem is nagyon tudtak ilyesmiről beszélni, de az ő nagybátyjának, a David nagybátyjának egyébként van egy gyűjtése a családról, és akkor az is lehet, hogy egyébként ez egy egészen fontos történelmi tény, és nagyon sok infóval szolgál. Nem csak a családról, hanem a környékbeliekről is, mert ők nagyon sok mindenkivel jobban voltak ott, mindenféle néppel és nemzetiségű emberrel.
We only have time for one more question, but I have to ask you to tell this story, David, please, which you told me about the Russian cab driver took you to the airport once in the JFK.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, you have to know that there was a taxi company in New York. It was called Tel Aviv Taxi.
Oh, okay.
And the number was 7777777. That was the number, And the taxi drivers were generally Israelis or Russians, all Jews, of course, Jewish. And I took a cab to Kennedy Airport. I was going to Europe, and I was sitting in the back of the cab, and the cab driver, I said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Kennedy Airport." "Oh, okay. You don't live in the United States?" "No, I do, but I'm moving to Europe." "Oh, great. Okay, fine. Tell me, what's your name?" I said, "My name is David." "No, that's unbelievable. My name also David." I said, oh, what a coincidence. I said, that's really nice. And he said, oh, great. And he's driving, about 5 minutes later, he says, your family name. What is your family name? I said, Friedman. He goes, no, I don't believe that. My name is also Friedman.
No, it's
Yeah,
not.
really. But he spelled it Frydman. That's like the Jewish, Russian Jewish name. David Friedman. But, yeah, he almost caused an accident because he got so shocked because we had the same name.
So David Friedman's in the same cab.
It's a true story, I promise.
Oh God. Ez egyébként egy zseniális történet, ami úgy néz ki, hogy a David repülőtérre ment éppen, és Tel Avivba ment a Kennedyről.
Nem, a taxitársaságot hívták.
Ja, tényleg, Tel Aviv volt a taxitársaság, és az ott a telefonon, hogy 7, és sztoriztak arról, hogy akkor ki hova megy, és mi történik, és kérdezte a taxis, hogy hívják, mondta, hogy David, és mondta, hogy hát ez hihetetlen, engem is Davidnek hívnak, és kérdezte a családnevet, mondta, hogy Friedman, és mondta, hogy hát ez teljesen elképesztő, mert őt is Friedmannek hívják. Én egyébként ezt nem feltétlenül gondolom, hogy tényleg így volt, de ők állítják, hogy mind a kettejüket David Friedmannek hívták, és én tudom, hogy az egyiket tényleg így hívják. Úgyhogy nagyon sok David Friedman egy taxiban.
Egy taxiban. Yep.
Okay, so now I have to announce the video which we made together, which I'm very grateful to David again. So this one is called Up Jump Spring, and it's a great song by Freddie Hubbard. And the rest of the guys playing there is David Ülkei, who was here before. He's a saxophone player. He was here before. And Adam Bögöthy, he's the bass player. So please listen to Up Jump Spring. Ez volt az egészen különlegesen fantasztikus David Friedman, akinek ezúton is magyarul is megköszönjük, és az Up Jump Spring Freddie Hubbard dala. És most már nagyon kevés maradt sajnos az időnkből, csak néhány utolsó gondolat maradt. Egyrészt itt van a küszöbön Pészach ünnepe és a Széder este, ami tulajdonképpen viszonylag szorosan kapcsolódik a szabadsághoz, és nagyjából ennek az egész háborús helyzetnek az ellenkezőjét akarja mondani. Az én egyik gondolatom, és csak nagyon rövid leszek, és aztán folytatjuk zenével, a pészekről az az, hogy azt gondolom, hogy a manapság rendkívül divatos pszichodrámák és pszichoszínházak, ahol ugye az történik, hogy az embert, azt hiszem az történik, hogy az embert egy analízis után behelyezik egy olyan helyzetbe, ahol színészekkel és díszletekkel eljátszák az ő traumáit, amitől ő megszabadulni akar, és ezen keresztül valahogy eljut egy jobb megértéshez önmagához, vagy a lehetséges útjaihoz. Tulajdonképpen szerintem a Széder este az első korabeli pszichodráma, ami 4 órán keresztül egyfajta kollektív pszichodráma, ahol 4 órán keresztül a fogságból szabadulást és a fogság szörnyűségeit és a szabadság szépségeit mondja el. Maybe in English too. I don't think I should talk a lot about this song, except for I'm really incredibly grateful for David that he has done this event and this song with us. And the last thought was about Passover, which is coming on, and Passover is about freedom and getting away from escaping slavery. And what I said in Hungarian was that I think that Passover, actually the night of Passover, is probably the first psychodrama or psychotheater, collective kind of psychoanalysis where you sit there and people walk you through your past and the most horrible things that happened to the Jewish people, things they had to escape. So on that note, I would like to announce a song which was recorded a long time ago. It was recorded for either the second or the third, I think it was the second part of this Ahead with Music event. It's one of my favorite Passover songs called Avadim Hayinu. We've been slaves, and the lyrics says we've been slaves, but now we are free. And one last note on that, please try not to notice that the way my mother always told me in my adolescent years that I look like a cat that's been dragged out of a wastebasket. So that's the only thing you shouldn't notice, but the music is cool, I think. Tehát következik Avadi.
Avadim hayinu, hayinu, atam nekovim, b'nekovim. Avadim hayinu, atam b'nekovim. Avadim hayinu, atam b'nekovim, atam b'nekovim. Avadim hayinu, hayinu, atam nekovim, b'nekovim. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei cholim. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei cholim, ata b'nei cholim. Cholim, cholim, cholim. Avadim hayinu, hayinu, ata b'nei cholim, b'nei cholim. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei cholim. Avadim hayinu, ata b'nei cholim, ata b'nei cholim. Avadim hayinu, hayinu, ata b'nei
Avadim Hayim Ata Ata B'nei Cholim Avadim Hayim Ata B'nei Cholim Ata B'nei Cholim 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 Cholim.
Hát lassan a programunk végére érünk, de még ne kapcsoljátok ki, mert még lesz egy dal, viszont én el fogok búcsúzni tőletek, mégpedig egy gondolattal, ami tulajdonképpen az ókori Görögországból származik, eredetileg Periklésztől, aki egy prominens politikus és hadvezér volt, egy hasonló szituációban, mint amiben most mi találjuk magunkat. Mai napig sokan idézik azt a mondását, amit egy kortárs történész adott nekünk tovább, és eredetileg így hangzott. Vegyetek róluk példát, mármint a katonákról, becsüljétek a bátorságot, hisz az jelenti a szabadságot, és a szabadságot, hisz az a boldogság. Így ne riadjatok el a háború veszélyeitől sem. Can I have that slide now, Andy? Thank you. Mai nyelven és értelemben a boldogság titka a szabadság titka a bátorság. Tehát kurázsi, barátaim, kurázsi. A szabadságért harcolni kell, mert anélkül nincs boldogság. We are coming to the end of our program, but don't switch off yet. We will have one more song, but I am going to say goodbye to you with a thought which stems from ancient Greece, the golden age of Athens, from Pericles, and from somebody, another general who is also a historian, who passed this on to us. It is talking about soldiers. And the original text was something like this. Make them your examples, and esteeming courage to be freedom, and freedom to be happiness. Do not weigh too nicely the perils of war. In modern parlance, the secret to happiness is freedom. The secret to freedom is courage. So courage, my friends. We have to fight for freedom, and without freedom, there is no happiness. Reméljük, hogy felkeltettük érdeklődéseteket a művészek iránt, és Arzenu iránt is. Kövessétek, lájkoljátok az Arzenu Hungary Facebook oldalát, szükség van rátok, segítsetek munkánkban. We may have piqued your interest in Arzenu. Please follow us and like the Facebook page of Arzenu Hungary. We need you. Please help in our work. Nagyon nagy köszönetet mondok mindenkinek, aki a programot lehetővé tette, Izraelben Arzenu and WZO és a Cionista Világszövetség Irgun osztálya. Magyarországon természetesen a zenészek, énekesek, videókészítők és résztvevők, valamint a műszakisok Angliában, és persze ti, a közönségünk. Huge thanks to all who helped make this evening possible. In Israel, Arzenu and WZO and the Department of Irgun of the WZO. In Hungary, of course, all musicians, singers and participants, as well as the tech guys in England. Last but not least, thank you our audience for having been with us. És most még egy utolsó dállal búcsúzok, és Gina, Dávid jön, vigyázzatok magatokra, a viszontlátásra. And now we say goodbye with the last song from Gina and David. Take care, see you soon.
Mi is csak egy fél mondatot tennénk már csak hozzá, hálás köszönet Erikának, különösen hálás köszönet David Friedmannek, hogy itt volt velünk, és köszönjük szépen Andynek és az Audiosok Visualnek, Leónak és mindenkinek, aki segített ebben a dologban, és persze nagyon köszönjük a közönségnek, aki itt volt velünk. Thank you very much. Thank you, Erika. Thank you, Andy and Leo. Thanks a lot, David Friedman. And thanks for everybody who was here with us and listened to us. This last song is called Here's to Life. I think it's a good way to part ways from each other. It's by Shirley Horn, one of the greatest jazz singers in the world. And Here's to Life is actually, well, listen for yourself. I think it has a nice message. You know, can translate.
A következő és utolsó dalunk címe Here's to Life, és ez egy pohárköszöntő. Arról szól, hogy ragadjuk meg az életben azokat a pillanatokat, amikért érdemes hálásnak lenni, mert nem tudhatjuk, hogy meddig tartanak, nem tudjuk, hogy hány van belőlük, de amíg tartanak, addig nem rossz dolog hálásnak lenni, próbáljátok ki. Pont ugyanolyan addiktív, mint bármi más, az ember kicsit próbálkozik odafigyelni, és aztán nagyon könnyen megy hálát adni sok mindenért.
Here's to life.
No complaints and no regrets. I still believe in chasing dreams and placing bets. And I have learned that all you give is all you get. So give it all you've got. I had my share, I drank my fill. And even though I'm satisfied, I'm hungry still to see what's down another road beyond the hill and do it all again. So here's to life and every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. Funny how the time just flies, how love can go from warm hellos to sad goodbyes, and leave you with the memory to memorize, to keep your winters warm. But there's no yes in yesterday, and who knows what tomorrow brings or takes away. As long as I'm still in the game, I wanna play for laughs, for life, for love. So here's to life and every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. May all your storms be weathered, and all that's good get better. Here's to life, here's to love, here's to you. So here's to life and every joy it brings. Here's to life, the dreamers and their dreams. May all your storms be weathered, and all that's good get better. Here's to life, here's to love, here's to you.
Köszönjük szépen, és sziasztok!